The distress beacon flickered weakly across the void, a dying pulse that most civilized species had already dismissed. Too remote, too dangerous, too much effort for a single life, but humans didn't think like most civilized species. Captain Marcus Webb studied the signal on his salvage ship's display, his weathered face creased with concern. His crew of 12 had been hauling derelict satellites from the outer rim when the beacon caught their attention. The source was a damaged escape pod drifting near the Cachery Nebula, a region where even pirates feared to venture. "Skip, that's deep in radiation territory," his first mate Chen warned. The Galactic Council marked it as a no-fly zone 3 cycles ago. Marcus rubbed his jaw, the stubble rasping under his fingers. "How long's that beacon been broadcasting?" 14 hours. Life support's critical. The captain's decision took less than 3 seconds. Plot a course. Full burn. The crew exchanged glances but didn't argue. They knew their captain, knew his species. Humans had a reputation across the galaxy, whispered in the gleaming halls of the Concordance and the trading posts of 100 worlds. Reckless, emotional, savage. Some said they weren't wrong, but they weren't right either. The salvage ship Defiance Hope cut through space like a blade, her shield screaming as radiation pummeled the hull. Warning klaxons wailed, but Marcus kept his eyes on the pod growing larger in the viewport. It was Valthene design, elegant and crystalline, already half melted from the nebula's fury. "Grab her with the mag clamps," Marcus ordered. "Chen, get a medical bay prepped. Rodriguez, I want that pod open the second we're clear." They extracted the pod with practiced efficiency, their ship groaning under the strain. The moment they broke free of the radiation field, the crew descended on their prize. The crystalline shell cracked open like an egg, revealing its occupant. She was small, barely 4 feet tall, with translucent blue skin that seemed to shimmer with internal light. A Valthene child, no more than their equivalent of 8 years old. Her large, dark eyes fluttered open, filled with terror as she beheld the creatures looming over her. Humans, the monsters of galactic legend, the species too violent for the council chambers, too unpredictable for polite company. She tried to scream, but no sound came out. Marcus dropped to one knee, making himself smaller, less threatening. He'd learned this from his daughter back on Earth. "Hey there, little one," he said softly, his translator rendering the words in melodic Valthene. "You're safe now. We've got you." The girl's eyes darted between the crew members. She'd been taught about humans in her educational programs, how they still ate meat from dead animals, how they resolved disputes with physical violence, how their warships were built for destruction rather than defense. Her parents had used humans as cautionary tales, the barbarians who somehow stumbled into space travel. Dr. Yuki Tanaka pushed through the crowd, her medical scanner already active. "Severe dehydration, radiation exposure, and hypothermia," she announced. "We need to move her now. For the next 6 hours." The human crew worked with frantic precision. Dr. Tanaka synthesized medications compatible with Valthene biology, researching their physiology from the ship's limited database. Engineer Rodriguez jury-rigged an environmental chamber to match the girl's homeworld conditions. Chef Morrison, a grizzled veteran with arms covered in tattoos, prepared a nutrient paste after studying Valthene dietary requirements for 3 straight hours. The girl, barely conscious, watched them with growing confusion. These were humans, these creatures who spoke softly and moved carefully around her fragile body, the same species her teachers called savage. She watched as Morrison sat beside her chamber, his scarred face gentle as he explained each ingredient in her food, making sure nothing would cause her discomfort. She saw Chen fashion a small toy from spare parts, a crystalline bird that caught the light just like the ones from her homeworld. She felt Dr. Tanaka's hands impossibly steady as she treated each wound with tender care. On the 3rd day, when her strength returned, she finally spoke. "Why?" Her voice was like wind chimes. "The council abandoned me. The rescue ships turned away. Your species gains nothing from my survival." Marcus, who'd been sitting vigil outside her chamber, looked up from his datapad. "Kid, we're human. We don't need a reason to help someone in trouble. That's just what we do. But your kind is violent, dangerous. The histories—" "Oh, we're definitely dangerous," Marcus interrupted with a sad smile. "We've got a talent for destruction that scares the hell out of the galaxy. But here's what the fancy species in their crystal towers never understood. The same fire that makes us dangerous in war makes us unstoppable when someone needs saving. We're stubborn, reckless, and too emotional for our own good. He stood and approached her chamber, his reflection ghosting across its surface. Your people call us savage because we feel too much, fight too hard, care too deeply. But maybe that's not a weakness. Maybe that's the point. The girl pressed her small hand against the inside of the chamber, and Marcus matched it with his own scarred palm on the outside. We didn't save you because of some galactic law or treaty, he continued. We saved you because a little girl was scared and alone. And what kind of monsters would we be if we let that stand? 2 weeks later, the Defiance Hope docked at Valthene Prime. The girl's family waited at the port, their crystalline forms shimmering with emotion that even their composed species couldn't fully contain. As she ran into their arms, she turned back to the human crew one last time. She understood now. The galaxy called them savage, but perhaps civilization wasn't measured in crystal spires and perfect logic. Perhaps it was measured in the hands that reached into fire to pull a stranger to safety. Perhaps the real savages were those who had the power to help but turned away. As the Defiance Hope departed, heading back to the lawless frontier they called home, little Sarathi watched until they vanished among the stars. And in that moment she knew that if danger ever called again, she'd want the savage humans at her side, because humans, for all their flaws and fury, understood something the civilized galaxy had forgotten, that the measure of a species isn't found in their restraint, but in their refusal to abandon those who need them most, even when it's inconvenient, even when it's dangerous, even when the entire galaxy says it's not worth the risk.